Welcome to the Oil Stream postgame show here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola with you alongside YouTube Trev, and shortly we will have Joaquin Gage filling in for Matty Cassian as the Edmonton Oilers pick up a crucial regulation victory against the Minnesota Wild, a team that they're behind in the standings, a team that had played its fourth game in a 6-day span, and a team that the Oilers needed some points against. As always, we highly encourage you to text into the show if you're listening on your way from the arena, 780-218-9999. If you're watching on our EST YouTube channel, appreciate it very much. You can get into the nasty chat. That is usually humming along quite nicely as we break down the Oilers 4-3 victory over the Minnesota Wild. Let's get in with our post-game analyst tonight, Joaquin Gage, before I get the scoring summary going. Gager, let's start with overall impressions of Oilers, if you can hear me.
I can't hear you.
He can't hear me. Uh-oh. YouTube Trev, this is like what happened with me and Dusty earlier in the day. So I think we're going to need to get Gager all set up there. I'll go through the scoring summary. We'll get things sorted out, and we'll get Gager's thoughts on things. In the first period, the Oilers get on the board first, 15-16. Into the opening frame, Evan Bouchard is 6th of the season from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman. An absolutely beautiful snapshot from Bouchard, who continues to stay hot, make it 10 games in a row. Points for Bouchard. He wouldn't be done there either. 1-0 Oil after one in the second period. It would be a couple of quick strikes from the Minnesota Wild. 2 goals in a 41-second span. Matt Boldy, his 6th of the year from Faber and Johansson at 15 seconds. That was not good. And then not long after that, just 26 seconds later, Joel Eriksson-Ek from Boldy and Johansson. So that line causing some fits for the Oilers to make it 2-1 for Minnie, just 41 seconds into the middle frame. Then Connor McDavid, an absolutely Connor McDavid-esque goal, going through a couple of defenders and then outweighting Marc-Andre Fleury, his 9th of the season from Nugent-Hopkins and Bouchard. 2-2 at 1:21 on the beautiful McDavid goal. Then it would be Minnesota retaking the lead for the second time in the second period. Connor Dewar, an absolute laser of a shot. Ryan Hartman and Brock Faber, the assists to make it 3-2 at 11:58. And then before the period was up on the power play, Leon Draisaitl, his 11th of the year. Really nice play by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Connor McDavid to set up Draisaitl to make it 3-3. That one coming at 18:30. I will say this one quick thing about that Draisaitl goal. The fans in the building, and I'm sure there were a lot of people out there watching the game when the Oilers were working it around. All I could hear right before Nugent-Hopkins made the feed to Draisaitl was, shoo, oh, and I was like, yeah, that's why they paid millions of dollars to go out there and do what they do on the power play and in general in the National Hockey League. So you could start to hear people about to yell shoot, and some started yelling shoot, and then they outweight the crowd and get the goal for Draisaitl. So 3-3 going into the third, and then in that third period, this sequence was an interesting one. Evander Kane with the hit on Jonas Brodin. We're looking at it again up in the press box. Some people thought it was a bit dirty, a little bit from behind. No call on it. Ryan Hartman goes in to confront Kane. He takes a roughing penalty, and on the ensuing power play, Evan Bouchard picking up another goal, an absolute howitzer, his 7th of the year, 2nd of the night from Draisaitl and Nugent-Hopkins. That would be the difference to make it 4-3 Edmonton, 132 into the final frame. Another power play marker there, like we mentioned. And then the Oilers managed to hold the fort. I think going into the third period, Stuart Skinner's save percentage was .750, and he made some absolutely terrific saves in crucial moments in the third to preserve the victory, especially with that last-second Hartman shot or that was a Spurgeon shot at the last second, and then Hartman hitting the post in the dying minute of the game. So the Oilers hang on for the 4-3 win. In terms of stats from tonight, Edmonton outshoots Mini 40-20. Face-off battle 50-50. Power play, Edmonton goes 2 for 4. PK, another good night, 3 for 3. Hits 23-17 in favor of the Wild. 16 block shots for Mini to Edmonton's 15. Takeaways 10 apiece, and 12 giveaways for the Oilers to just 7 for Minnesota. I think we got everything sorted out with Gager. Let's bring him back in. He's ready to rock and or roll. Hello, Joaquin. A big thank you to you for filling in for Cass tonight. Always a pleasure to have you on. And where do you want to go with this, pal? Because that was a big 2 points for the Edmonton Oilers tonight.
Thoroughly entertaining hockey game, Tommy. That game had everything, and to be quite honest, that was the game that I was hoping to see from the Oilers, because finally a team with a lot of pushback and just never quit after kind of that first period where just utter domination went as a goalie, like the Flower. Unreal first period. Like the game should have been over after the first period. That's what a great goalie can do for you like that. It's you hear that all the time. Just when you're number one guy, you going on the road. They've been on the road for a couple weeks. They're whatever, a week and a half now. You're back-to-back games, and your goalie steals you a period and just allows your team to get back under you. Just unbelievable job by him. The pushback from the Wild in the second period, and the Oilers, just the response from McDavid coming back with just an unbelievable goal, and the power play alive and well, and one of the key factors in the game to get back in it. Just a great game. I liked every bit of it. I just thought that's the type of game that the Oilers need, especially at this time of the year. Not only for the point standing, Tommy, just like not allowing the Minnesota Wild to get that extra kind of point if they did tie it up, but get the 2 points, have those lead changes, be comfortable in the uncomfortable side of things, and coming out with 2 points, man, that was awesome. Just awesome.
4-3. Edmonton now has 6 wins in a row. Yes, they take advantage of a Minnesota team that had played its 4th game in 6 nights. A Wild team that, Gager, I thought actually put up a good fight, and whatever they did to recharge the batteries today during the day, not showing up, having anything at the rink during the day, that extra little bit of a nap, whatever it was, it seemed to work because they had a little bit of pop here and there throughout the game. And Edmonton had to work for that one. And it turns into what you said, an entertaining game with lead changes and some great saves. And you mentioned Marc-Andre Fleury at 39 years of age, putting on an absolutely enjoyable and entertaining display at his end of the rink. Some of the saves, they're not those typical blocker, big guy, he's going to just be a blocker type of goalie. Those were like the acrobatic, all over the map, find a way to make it happen. And he does, and that's been his MO for years. But at the other end, I mentioned the 750 for Skinner going into the third period. I saw a quick look at the nasty chat. A few people were saying some stuff about Skinner, but he made some huge saves at the right moments of the game. He did get lucky with the post. That's fine. That'll happen from time to time. But the 3 goals on 10 shots at one point, did you see anything there from Stewart that you would think, oh boy, that's not good, or he can't have that? Or was it good plays by the Wild in a couple of breakdowns, or Oilers wise defensively?
Yeah, I found in the second period, Tommy, in the defensive zone, something that we saw at the beginning of the year. You saw a lot of looking and not reacting. The last few games with the Oilers in the defensive zone have been so much more proactive with covering people, reading the plays, and almost like clairvoyant and knowing, expecting the pass to go to certain places. I found on those goals, they were just a little bit of a step behind. You saw Bouchard not really reading the switch on the 2-on-2, and shoot, I forget who it was on the one goal to go ahead, but just a step behind, just not realizing when the puck's behind the net, the most dangerous person, I think it was Hamblin at that point. Actually, I'm pretty
Yes,
sure it was
on the Dewar goal.
on the Dewar goal. Yeah, so just not recognizing. Yeah, the puck's behind the net. There's no real danger, but the guy standing next to you in front, ready with his stick up in the air, waiting to one time that thing. That's the dangerous guy. So you saw just a little bit of hesitation and just a little bit late getting to his guy, but they reeled it back in. That's another thing that I saw. Just for Skinner, that's a very hard game for a goalie to play. When you see the other guy stopping everything, you have 4 shots against, you're only up by 1. You go into the second period, and it seems like things are falling apart. People might be upset because they look at the numbers and stats, but that's an amazing performance by Stuart Skinner mentally to stay with the game. It's a lot easier to stay in a game when you got 40 shots instead of 11, Tommy. And for him to make those big saves at the end, he made some huge saves. Just with, I look at the, I think it was Dewar, where he came in on the side and he wanted to go to his backhand, and it kind of rolled off the end of his stick. Stuart Skinner still held his ground. He didn't bite on the move and was still solid. That's a very difficult save to make. I thought his, the couple of the goals, you want him to make a save, but just with the inactivity throughout it and the way he responded in that third period, awesome game.
You know what, Gager, when Minnesota was getting those goals, the other thing, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, if you saw it too, to create those opportunities, it looked like Minnie was really moving the puck quickly below the goal line. And it was like bang, bang. Because, we talk about Hamblin just being a fraction of a second too late on the Dewar goal. Well, it's like, why was he too late? And it looked like the emphasis from a Minnie standpoint was to get the puck moving quickly, to get through that zone defense. Because it looked like guys were in the right spots until you got to the shooter in Dewar on that instance. And it's like, oh, well, he got it from behind the net quickly, and I think it was like Hartman that popped it out.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's a bang, bang play. I'm not blaming Skinner for that one. Maybe on that first one, was it Boldy's goal early in the second period? It looked like Skinner made a save, and there was a bit of a bobble there and then banging and crashing in front. But again, you didn't have D-men picking it up.
Yeah, no, I mean, those are bang, bang plays. It looks like the Wild were trying to implement that low to high kind of shots, Tommy, too. Yeah. Those are tough. You got to, as a goalie, you're constantly shoulder checking, seeing where the danger is coming from. We've talked about the communication, too. You're kind of telling guy in front, so
Yep.
You want to recognize what hand that guy's, where the one-timer could come from, so you're kind of preemptively moving to that position when the puck does pop out. But those are, you want them to try to possibly make a save there, but those are some pretty good goals too.
Yeah. Hey, kudos to the Minnesota Wild. Ever since they made the coaching change, that they put together 4 straight wins. They lose a tough one last night where they looked like they were out of gas in Vancouver. They fly into town, and then they got to get up for an Oilers team that had rattled off 5 straight wins, coming off a nice 6-1 victory over the Carolina Hurricanes on Wednesday, where they had Rod Brindamore, of all people, saying he feels like his team was going to lose that game 50-0, which was an incredible quote mid-game to Darren Pang. So the Oilers have done some really good things, and the Wild did battle hard, and credit where credit is due. And Skinner was great in that third period. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not listening to your scouting reports anymore, Tommy. You saying you saw Patrick Maroon? It sounded like he was crawling down the sidewalk the way you were talking.
He looked like a zombie.
But I love the intensity of that game too. Like, there was some real hatred brewing.
Yep.
I'm a huge fan of Eriksson Ek. Like, I think he is a whale of a player. Back at the Doug Waite Hall of Fame game, I got a chance to talk to Bill Guerin, and I asked him, I go, hey, how about that Eriksson Ek? Is he as good as I think he is? And Billy Guerin went off for the next 5 minutes raving about him, about what a superstar he thinks that he could become in this league. He says he's just got everything, the size, the skill. We saw the sandpaper as well. Mm-hmm. Darnell Nurse is no pushover, right? And going up head to head with him, Really, really enjoyable player to watch. But yeah, that was. I love the response. I love the pushback. I like the way that the Oilers handled themselves. Evander Kane, was it up behind? I can't stand when guys turn.
Right.
You as a defenseman going back, especially in my day, you knew who you were out against, right? You got to realize Evander Kane's one of those guys that finishes his checks every single time. It looked like he was trying to hit him from the side. There was a little bit of pushback. He got him on the back side of the shoulder blade.
Yep.
Yeah, you probably could have got a call there against the Oilers. But look, the one-handed slash on Janmark going in on the breakaway there. I don't know the D-man from the Wild, but he just turned and whacked him right on the hands. The underhand volleyball serve that should have been called a penalty, throwing the puck out of the zone.
Yes.
So you know what? That's two that the Wild probably should have got. So everything works out in the end.
Yeah, it did get feisty, and Matthias Ekholm looked like he had a nasty gash over his right eye, getting into it as well. Good on Kane for not retaliating when Hartman went after him. That led to the game-winning goal. Dirty hit or not. I honestly, when I saw it in real time, I was like, yeah, okay, it's a big hit. And then, Rashog brought it up on his phone and he goes, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, you slow it down like that. And Brodin, did he make the play to his backhand? And then get slammed in is because he kind of went in like this, right? With his stick still facing his forehand. And
I don't understand that. It's you got to protect yourself just in case, if he could have hit him right between the numbers, it was still on the back shoulder.
Yep.
But you don't want to see those plays. But saying that, Tommy, I feel like a lot of defensemen go back and some guys go back and they turn and put themselves in vulnerable positions to get hit like that. You don't want to see anyone get hit, because that was when Evander Kane hits. It's a different type of hit. Like you can see the boards. It sounds different even on TV when
heavy.
It's just a heavy boom, right?
Yep.
And yeah, unfortunately, that's he's probably out for a little while. He smushed him in there.
Yeah, smushed is a good way to put it. All right, let's dip into the nasty chat as well as the text line 780-218-9999 if you want to get in on the conversation. Lots of text to get to after the Oilers' 4-3 victory over the Minnesota Wild. Randy says, since it was one of those games where the Oilers got the rare benefit of reffing calls, especially the swing from a non-major on Kane to the Wild retaliatory penalty and subsequent power play swing for the Oilers, I assume Tommy will say the reffing was bad both ways. Haha. No. Love the show, and no, you might appreciate it, but got to keep Homer takes in check. Was a massive difference in the game. No. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And I think, Randy, I just wanted to read your text, but I think we went over it well. Like, it was discussed up top when we looked at it. Was that not a play that could have been penalized? And yeah, and I think Gager did a good job of describing the officiating and some of the calls or non-calls or calls that were missed tonight, and talked about it going even both ways. And then the Oilers penalty kill on top of that was really, really good tonight, going 3 for 3. Who's to say maybe Minnesota was scored if they got one there, and obviously the Oilers wouldn't have had the man advantage. But there was some, I don't know. I think we already went over it. Let's go to the next one here. Let's just go. There's nothing left to say about it. We talked about it. Kirksey texts in, says, Tommy, I'm curious at what age will McLeod get tougher? I'm cleaning that up a little bit. A third line center at best that avoids contact like a lactose intolerant person avoids dairy. Enough of this hogwash. Great show from Kirksey. When will McLeod get tougher, Kirksey? I don't know if it's in him. I'd like it to be in him and to see him muck it out more. A third line center at best, I think, is going to be his ceiling as an Edmonton Oiler, unless he forces the Oilers' hand and tries to go elsewhere. But I mean, he could settle right in as a third line center for a long time. But yeah, I'd love to see him be a lot tougher than he is right now. Anything to add to that, Gager?
I think last game we saw McLeod what glimpses of a little bit more sandpaper, right? He seemed to play a little bit more robust game, getting to the front of the net. Maybe that goal, the empty net speared him on, so to speak. He's unfortunately. It just seems like he plays a little bit on the perimeter, Tommy, and I mean we saw it last year in the playoffs. We saw a lot more grit from Ryan McLeod than we're seeing now. So I won't say it's not completely out of his game. There is something there. Maybe he's one of those guys that like a Kulak that waits for the 7-game series to really engage with that. But I don't think it's a switch that you just turn on. That's something that you have to develop in your game.
Yeah.
Man, speaking of Kulak, that play that he closed the gap to stop the breakaway, just unbelievable. Great stick, physical, gets it into the corner. Man, there was just some unbelievable plays by the Oilers D tonight to limit the Wild's chances. That was impressive, that third period.
For the most part, Gager, like the Oilers defense seemed pretty smooth. The breakouts seemed a lot cleaner, or they have been in recent weeks, obviously with this 6-game win streak, but they seem to be pretty composed. Where they got into trouble is when the Wild did get possession down low and were trying to move it quickly. And I think for the most part, the D did a decent job tonight.
Yeah, I mean the Wild pushed. That last 10 minutes that was hard. The Oilers are great when the D have. I think this is why we've seen a lot of this recent success, and I do think it's the implementation of Naba and Paul Coffey saying we want you to make plays, and he's not make outstanding plays, just simple good plays like that first pass. So that first pass from the D-man going to the forwards tape to tape is so crucial, right? Not just firing up the boards. I thought Vinny Desharnais had a few struggles when the Wild were really pushing. He was getting forced, trying to going up the wall on his back end. Those hope plays and getting into those one-on-one battles instead of trying to make a play at that point. I realize how difficult that is, but that's what you have to do in this league, because they're going to eat you alive if you can't make that first pass. And so, but because in those first period, even parts of the second, he was getting that puck, first pass, boom, easy play, Oilers break out. It's a little bit difficult when the Wild were pressing there. They were doing a great job and winning battles too. They were winning a lot of those 50-50 battles with the puck on the boards, but they bent, didn't break, but you'd like to see the D-men just a little bit more composed with the puck when they have a little bit of time and making that just good, easy play.
Yep. Well, it led to a 4-3 victory as Edmonton collects its 6th straight and will continue this 6-game homestand. It is the Oil Stream post-game show right here on EST. Tom Gazzola, Joaquin Gage with you alongside YouTube Trev. You can text us 780-218-9999. Or if you're watching on our YouTube channel and haven't subscribed, please do and smash that thumbs up button. Let's get that algorithm up and running. Everybody's been great on that. We just eclipsed 6,100 YouTube subscribers. I almost said followers. That's not the proper term. And we want to keep building this bad boy up. We can't do it without you, so we appreciate you. Let's go back into the inbox, 780-218-9999. Justin says, Tommy, huge win. Whole family watching the show, 2-0 with the EST hat. That's from Justin. That EST hat is a thing of beauty. Awanek doing a great job with the design, working with Chelsea over at the Hive. And it's great that some of the nasties are now getting their hands on the EST merch. Strummy, Bumblebee Tuna to you. Strummy says Maroon looks like he's lost a step or 20. Patty, he's 35 years old. I saw him earlier today, and he looked tired. So, Gager, fair enough. The assessment I made, I mean, if the rest of the team was as tired as Pat was, then okay. But, Minnesota put up a hell of a fight tonight. and kudos to them. And there's a reason why they've won 4 of their last 6 now. It was 4 and 5, but yeah. So
this is the nasty chat's funny. I think there's a
got?
lot of talk of the game, but there's a lot of talk of the new lager that's out, and I see Bison Mascot talking about how good it is. And it's still undefeated, Tommy. It's
yes,
it's still an undefeated beer. So
it is an undefeated beer, and it's great. Scott Laurie,
delicious.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I want your breakdown. I know we did it on, I think it was a pregame show a few weeks ago, but it was like a Saturday early game where you snagged one, and Awanik's like, no more 6 o'clockers because he saw you had it. But how would you, as a beer connoisseur, describe the 6 o'clocker lager to those who haven't had a chance to taste it yet? It has been selling quite well, and the folks at Alley Cat and Scott and the whole crew at Sobeys and Safeway Liquor, this has been a project that we've all worked together on, and now it's going to be, it looks like permanent, sounds like is the way it's going to go, and then even into some bars and restaurants. So, Gager, how would you describe that beer?
Like, Tommy, realistically, I'm an IPA guy. I like something that blows the back of my head off, right? And I was hesitant with the lager. When I cracked it the first time, I was shocked at the flavor and the taste of it. First of all, it's a really refreshing beer with added taste that stays in the back of your throat when you drink it. It completely caught me off by surprise, and I haven't heard one person that's tried it say, "Oh, I don't like this." I mean, everyone likes a good lager.
Yeah.
It's something that you will always have in your fridge. Usually, you're always looking for that one beer that everyone will like regardless. And that's this thing, man. It's funny talking to Dusty, and I can't believe that we got this beer, and
right.
And I said we haven't seen this kind of hype. I haven't seen it since Bud Light Lime, and it's a great. I'm not just saying this. It's unbelievable, and the only bad thing about it is that I can't get it at my store.
Hey, talk to Scott. Scott's been driving all over the place. Old Redbeard Scott Laurie's been hustling to get it back into stores and meet demand. And big thanks to Scott for getting some up to the Sobeys, or is it a Safeway Liquor? I think it's Sobeys up in Erin Ridge area of St. Albert, so my dad could go pick some up. But like unbelievable. So if you're celebrating with the 6 o'clocker lager, cheers to you. Really appreciate it, and let's keep this bad boy going. And actually, Gage, that's why I texted you, because you popped on the nasty chat during the oil stream this afternoon, and you were talking about having some beers ready for you. So I thought you were coming to the game and you'd be doing the show from here. And I was like, I have some 70 acre, which was the beer of the week on the morning show a couple of weeks ago. I had one left that's like a 6.5%. And I was like, that's definitely Joaquin's, but I'll go get some more for you. But this works out nice too. You look great. You're at home. You're comfortable. You got one.
Yeah, I found one, so we're all set, Tommy. We're all good. All
right. 4-3 victory for the Edmonton Oilers. If you have any questions or comments in regard to the game and the beer, whatever, 780-218-9999 or via the nasty chat. Neil via the nasty chat says Maroon looks like he lets up on the physicality against the Oilers, and he is pretty good at holding onto the puck in the O zone. I know he likes those guys that he played with when he was an Oiler. Gager, is it facing your old teammates, even though you haven't been a part of the team for a while, like you still kind of give them a little bit of, I don't want to say you lay off, but you're not running them through the end wall or anything like that, right?
Well, I think if you get a chance to pop a guy, you and it's clean, you do it, right?
Yeah.
You saw Patty Maroon from all, I remember meeting him. I'm sure he doesn't remember, because it was the last game at Rexall when I first my first kind of introduction to Pat Maroon, and there was a few guys in the room and talking, and he was making me laugh, and I wasn't even talking, just his antics and stuff. He seems like the ultimate team player.
Yep.
And I mean, I couldn't have been more happy for his success and multiple Stanley Cups. I would have loved to see him remain an Oiler at that point, right? He had really great chemistry with Connor at that point,
Yep.
scoring a ton of goals, and just one of those guys that you kind of need. I look at he's kind of like Klim Kostin on steroids, right? Like he's just one of those jovial, tough guys that'll do anything for his teammates, keeps everyone together. And you could see that in warm up, just him kind of giving Leon the gears, and you saw the smile on Leon's face, right?
Yeah.
And when he just talking with him in warm up, those are those relationships that you generate over the years of being a professional in any sport, really, but in hockey it's a little bit different. And yeah, you go to war with some guys, and then you end up on different sides and going at each other again. I mean, I know that Cass and myself, I think Dusty, were talking about possibly looking at a player like him at the trade deadline, just to kind of solidify things, right? He's a great ad for, and just with the experience. I do think with the Oilers is the one kind of ingredient that is missing is the guys that have done it before. I know you have a guy on the bench that's done it multiple times, and that's going to help, don't get me wrong, but having a guy that's gone through 4 rounds and held the chalice at the end of it, that can go a long, long way when it gets to the most important time of the year.
Yeah. He is a competitor. He plays his best hockey in the postseason and multiple Stanley Cups on some great teams, but a great complimentary piece. And nope, not the fastest guy, but he is big and he plays heavy hockey and he stands up for his teammates. So he's not as quick as he was at 25 now that he's 35, but I think a serviceable guy. And he even said to me, he's like, I don't know, man, I'm 35. I'm like, relax. Too much of a character. So a couple of nasty chats here I want to get to. Joe wants Gager to show the can, if you don't mind, just so you can get a look at it.
Fantastic can.
Great design.
Great design. So you got the nice thing is you got obviously the microphone, but then you go, just in case, for when you're sitting out there and you can just say, conch me. And everyone will know what you say with the other side saying the conch.
Oh, yeah. Andrea says the 6 o'clocker lager is amazing. And I think Andrea also mentioned my supply of the lager has been exhausted. Before we get into some audio and video from the locker room, we did hit on this a little bit, but Gager, John wants to know, what did you think of Skinner tonight overall?
Like I said, it's very difficult in a game where you're not too busy, right? You come out, the first goal, bounces around. You'd like to see him maybe control that a little bit. Tough goal. But, I mean, the second one-timer, you got another one, low to high, quick shots. Skinner has played well. There's been certain instances where in parts of games where you'd like to see him make a save, not unlike the guy at the other end tonight, Andre Fleury, making huge saves when his team needed him most. There hasn't been enough of those saves from Stuart Skinner this year. I'm looking at over the whole course of the whole season so far.
Right.
But then we go to the third period. Those are really grinding saves where, the puck's bouncing around and he's just get the one save where it went behind the net and he was aggressive on the post and had to push back and make himself huge again, making that save. Last save of the game to preserve it. One-timer, right? Great save. So there were some game-changing saves from Stuart Skinner tonight. I think we just want to see them more in different times of the game that can kind of take the wind out of the sails of the other team, and maybe give your team a little bit more of a boost, because that's what a big save can do for you too, Tommy. It's just like a big hit.
Yep.
Just a momentum switch with a monster save at key times can give your team just as much of a boost.
And he did that, like you said, Gager, in that third period. So nice synopsis there. That one for, I believe it was John wanted to get a opinion on Gager, and we did start early in the show with one on Gager, but John, we got you for those that tuned in a little bit later. I'm going to read this text before we hear from Stuart Skinner. It comes in from the General. The General text in says, EST parlay cashes. What a week for the General. Congrats to the General. The boys are great at getting people in on some good bets and making a little bit of money. Bet responsibly, as Cool Bet likes to say. But having said that, YouTube Trev, do we have time for Stuart Skinner?
Yes, we do.
Let's do it.
And they're like game's winding down, and you still had a bit of work left there.
Yeah, you got to finish out the game full 60 minutes. I think we battled kind of the whole way through. And yeah, it was a good finish. Obviously a big 2 points.
You probably faced more Evan Bouchard shots than anybody in practice. What can you tell us about it that we can't see from upstairs?
Super easy to stop. Not hard at all. He's a great player. Bouch bomb it. He does have a bomb. It's pretty incredible how hard he can shoot it. So yeah, I've obviously been able to face that a lot, and it actually prepares me for a lot of games, especially when I'm getting 1-2s off the right side, maybe from Ovechkin per se. It's nice to get those shots from him just to kind of get it going. So I think he's got potentially the hardest shot in the NHL.
Is it the release or the heaviness of it?
I think the heaviness of it for sure is a big part of it. I think he does pick his spots. You would see a lot of NHL players being able to pick their spots, but yeah, he's just got a cannon, and obviously it's dangerous on the power play.
Does he unload it on you at practice? Like, do you think you get the full deal often?
Pretty often, yeah. I would say 99% of the time.
He likes it.
He'll get one every 30 practices, but that's about it.
You guys are rattling off wins here at a pretty impressive pace and making up some grounds too. How much better is that for just the way you guys are feeling day to day?
Yeah, it makes a huge difference just being around the rink. I think being able to stay with this, keep on playing the way we're playing, I think is going to be key. Being able to battle out a win, kind of like how we did tonight, it was pretty greasy, even though we played an incredible game the whole way. I think it shows a lot of grit for our team, and we just got to stick to it.
Stu, we were chatting with you earlier in the week about numbers, save percentages, things of that nature. Was this the game where that doesn't really matter? It's the timeliness of the saves that matter more than anything else?
I would say every game.
Yeah.
Numbers are numbers. They're going to say whatever they're going to say. The most important thing is to win, and that'll be every night.
Stuart, just at the end there, like we see what you're kind of doing physically when there's all that pressure, but what's kind of going through your mind, or what are the most important things that you are to focus on to make sure you make that late save and that the team does get the win?
Yeah, I think trying to stay as much in the moment as you possibly can. Obviously, you don't want to be thinking about the time. You don't want to be thinking about how much time I think Zuccarello had at the end there, and he made a really nice play, and I thought he was going to shoot it all the way, but yeah, he made a nice play. But you just got to do your best to stay in the moment, stay focused on my job, which is stopping the puck, and if I have to do that in the last 0.7 seconds, I'm going to do my best to do that. So
the old guy at the other end was pretty good tonight.
He was incredible. He made some really, really good saves, timely saves. Played the puck really well. It was fun to watch him. There's a couple times where he got me saying, "Oh, that was a pretty nice save in my end." So, he did a great job.
Still cool for you. I mean, you've been in the league a bit now, but still cool for you to play against a guy that I'm sure you've been watching for years.
Yeah, it'll forever be cool to me to play every team that I get the chance to play against. It's a pretty remarkable thing that we all get to play in the National Hockey League. It's everyone's dream ever since we were little kids. So being able to watch Fleury, being able to play against them, just like every other goalie I'll be facing, I'm very very grateful that I'm in that position to do that.
Just on Nurse, like there have been a couple of plays late in games where he, whether he's breaking up 2-on-1s or knocking pucks away. Like, yeah. I know all your D are playing well, but just thought on him specifically defending in big moments.
Incredible, yeah. I think that 2-on-1 especially, that was to tie it up. That could have changed the whole momentum. That could have changed everything, and he came up with a huge play. I was taking shot the whole time, so we needed that from him, and he really good play. He's always out there blocking shots. He's been incredible on the PK, been really good offensively. I think his game's in a really good spot, and I gave him a really big hug at the end, just to show him how much I appreciate that, what he's been doing the whole season.
All right, Stuart Skinner there. He picks up the win, 17 saves on 20 shots, and key saves in big moments late in the game for sure for Skinner. Okay, the goalie fraternity, there was a lot of love for goaltenders in that scrum, and I could see you nodding along. What stood out to you from Stuart Skinner and what he said describing his game tonight and what he watched?
I'm always interested in how goalies think in certain situations in the game, Tommy, and how what their mindset's like, and what they do to stay focused and be ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear Stuart Skinner like stay in the moment, it's there's a lot more that's encompassing in those times, and it's almost like it's like a blank slate. You don't want to look too much at the time left. Even you know the score obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but you're just trying to think about that next save, right? And it's very it sounds easy, but very difficult to do, especially when you look at the workload that he had tonight. He wasn't stressed, right? And this is
Right.
the part where games like this, although they're not physically draining, mentally they're exhausting, because of sometimes when things are just happening, you're not even thinking, you're just stopping the puck in those situations. A lot of time
Mm-hmm.
on yourself. There's a lot of self-reflection especially when you see one of the best goalies to ever play at the end of the end standing on his head and being acrobatic, right? So when we talk about Stuart Skinner and how much is he going to play, this is where I think it'd be a good time to try to get Pickard in there and give him just the mental break.
Yeah.
I know we look at the wear and tear. It's the mental side. These guys are in tremendous shape. They can play forever, but it's the mental side when you get into games like this that rest allows you to stay sharp, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and then local kid growing up in Edmonton, didn't get to see me play. He's too young for that, but that's his loss. But playing for your team, the fans, everything, just I completely jealous of him, and being the starting goal for your home team in the NHL. Awesome job by him. Just and you've met him. He's the salt of the earth too. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Just we want to see him make a few more of those timely saves, Stu. That's it.
He made him tonight. Him and I have discussed you, Joaquin, talking about his mask and the splash look that you, Cujo, even Ilya Bryzgalov for a brief moment when he was an Oiler had that. Now Stuart Skinner has it. So he's aware of Joaquin Gage and the legend that follows. The one thing I wanted to ask you as well to follow up on the Skinner presser was, he talked graciously about Marc-Andre Fleury, and then, Stu talked about being grateful to play in the NHL, and he's mesmerized by some of the guys he gets to go up against. Who is your guy that when you started or got into a game, you look down at the other end and you're like, holy crap, I'm playing against him? Amazing.
Well, one time Ed Belfour, that was very intimidating.
Yeah.
Having him skate and like passing him, I go, oh my, and seeing the eagles on the side of his mask,
Mm-hmm.
and just the focus, and probably trying to get me off my game too, because I was kind of trying to look at him out of the corner of my eye. He wasn't looking at me,
No.
but just those types of moments, like Felix Potvin playing against him, Kirk McLean, like just there's something about those games that you kind of, it's a natural progression. Like, we're all arrogant guys as goalies. We're very arrogant people. We all think we're the best and going straight to the NHL. But then you get up against some of the guys that you've been watching on Saturday nights in front of the TV when as a little kid, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually here. So yeah, I mean, and then to come out with the win against those guys, that's even more like, wow, I just beat that guy. That's unbelievable. So confidence wise, huge game for Stuart Skinner going up against Mark, and especially with the game that he did. We heard him talk about he was unbelievable at the other end, and so that's another thing that I like to see from a young goalie is how do you react to the guy at the other end? Do you start doing too much, or do you stay within your game? And I found he did that tonight.
17 saves in the win. It wasn't an abundance of saves. It was when he made them and how he made them eventually that helps get the Oilers the victory, especially that one with 0.7 seconds left on Spurgeon, I believe. Zuccarello, I think, made the play. Okay, YouTube Trev, who do we have next?
We've got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Here he is after his 4-point performance.
Just sort of showing how high end that thing is.
Yeah, elite on both ends there. Wrister, I mean, pick the corner. It's tough to pick short side against obviously an elite goaltender. So, and then I mean we know what he can do off the one timer and shoots it with that pace, but can pick a spot too. It's impressive.
This game wasn't. I mean, you carried a lot of the play, but it wasn't without its adversity. Did you like the way you guys kind of counterpunched there?
Yeah, I mean, they had obviously a quick start to the second. We can do a better job of weathering that right away, get our push right away. But teams are going to have that, and then I thought we responded well and took the game over after the later half. But yeah, I mean it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be how you script it up, but we found a way to do it.
Yeah, you defend a lot in the last sort of 8 minutes. They're pushing. You guys kind of held the fort. Were you happy with the way you weathered it?
Yeah, I think we did a good job. I think Stu made some big saves when we needed him to. But I thought the way that we played in our D zone was just confident. We knew they were going to come, and they have some skill over there, so they're going to make us earn it. And I thought we were a confident team in the D zone there.
Just a save by Stu at the end there.
Yeah, I mean huge. You need those sometimes, and I mean he came up big and. Yeah, I mean it's nice to eke that one out.
You guys are rattling off wins here at a pretty impressive pace. How much is this doing for the general feeling of where you guys are at?
Yeah, I mean I think we're starting to get to the game that we want to see night in, night out. I think the way that we started was just, I mean, it was a super fast pace. We were putting pucks behind them, making them turn, and then it starts to back them off a little bit, and that's kind of the way that we want to play. And we're tracking back hard, and D we're standing. I mean, that's kind of our MO, and when we play our best, we're a tough team to handle. We got a lot of fast players, and when we're all connected, it's like I said, tough to handle.
Ryan, when you have a shot from the point, does it make it more difficult for the opposing team, knowing that a guy could score from distance as opposed to passing between you and Connor and
Yeah, I mean, of course. I think you're seeing that more and more in this league, especially PKs are starting to morph into a little more aggressive on the half walls. So, I mean, you're going to have to score from up top, and obviously Busha has an elite release, so it can back PKs off.
All right, there's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 4 assists for the Nuge. That gives him 23 points in 24 games. A little bit of chatter on the pregame. Hey, when's the Nuge going to wake up? Well, I think he's doing okay. Gager, Nugent-Hopkins to this point this year, only the 5 goals, but the assists are pouring in. Oh, Gager, Mike. There you go, buddy.
Nuge had an incredible year last year, right? But I like his game right now, and to be quite honest, Tommy, I don't really care about the production. All I care about is playoff Nuge, and when the Oilers get there, that's where I want to see most of his contributions come. I think he's fine. I think there is another gear still with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, even with the performance tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But it's slowly coming. Like that power play looked pretty dangerous tonight. They were whipping it around really good. I think we'll we've always talked about skilled players feeling the puck, especially on the power play. We saw what Nuge did last year. I think with a little bit more success, he'll probably start finding the back of the net with a little bit more consistency now.
Yep.
But really, I didn't expect a repeat of the 100-point season. And for quite frankly, I think the Oilers throughout their whole lineup don't require him to score 100 points to make the playoffs. It's just what he does when he finally gets there is what I'm interested to see. And I think that Nuge is more important than regular season Nuge.
4 points for the Nugent Hopkins tonight. 3 points for Evan Bouchard, a pair of goals and an assist. Let's hear from Bouchard.
More satisfying, the snapshot or the slap shot? Which one is, if you look at that and go, yeah, that was the...
I actually can't pick one of the two. They both worked out in our favor, so I'll take that.
What's the key to picking the spots the way you do, but still shooting it as hard as you do?
I think it's more just about getting it by that first guy, giving our forwards a chance at the net, because that's what we've been harping on the past few weeks here.
Do you think, Evan, that it's quite a role to be a quarterback of a power play, or one of the quarterbacks? You have such great talent around you. Do you feel like you're more comfortable shooting now with some time than maybe earlier on when you see McDavid on one side and Draisaitl and wanting to pass off?
I think so, yeah. I think the more you get to play with them, the more confident they are. You know, I just try to put them in good spots like they do to me. They put me, in a position when they put it in kind of the wheelhouse to hit it, and, I think they're good with it too.
Everyone keeps saying they're defending power plays differently now. They're taking away the walls, and which means they're probably going to need more shots from up top. Are you seeing a change in your role in terms of having to provide more shots?
Well, I think when you have a threat from up top, it kind of opens up the seams for the guys. And, if they give up a little too much room in the seam, they're going to make that pass. So I think it's, it definitely helps.
You're on a pretty hot point streak right now. Do you think that game to game gives you momentum?
I think it's more so like when the team's doing well than individuals do well. And I think that's the case right now.
Evan, you defended well, like in big moments tonight. You were able to hang on to that lead in the end. What do you think you guys are doing so well from a defensive standpoint to be able to come through in those bigger moments?
I think it's, when we have a lead, we got to figure out a way to close it out, especially in the third period, keeping things simple. You get over the red line, no turnovers, and I think we've been doing a pretty good job at that to hang on to leads.
You got a point in 10 straight, Cough. You got a point in 28 straight. You figure you got a chance?
Honestly, I haven't even thought about that.
All right, there's Evan Bouchard. Likes his slap shot, likes his snapshot, and rightly so. A couple of beauties tonight to give him 7 goals, picks up an assist for 20 assists on the season, 27 points, and Bouchard humming along nicely, also +1, so that brings him to -4 on the year if you're keeping track of plus minus. Dirty Curdy texts in, will Bouch get 90 points? His D-zone play is starting to come. Need to find a 1B so we don't burn out Skinner and McDavid with a goal of the year candidate. Go out and exercise the Devils Sunday. Hartman needs a beatdown from Dirty Curdy on that one. Who shot the hardest that you ever faced, Gager? And how would you compare looking from the press box or even when you're on the Sportsnet broadcast, what you see from Evan Bouchard to someone who you were playing against back in the day?
Well, there were some guys that shot the puck really hard. Some guys you wouldn't even remember. But there was an old Oiler player. I don't think he might have played only a handful of games, but his name was Darcy Martini. And it didn't matter how, like, it was a snapshot, slap shot. It looked like the Mighty Ducks when they just all moved to the side because it was coming high and hard, and it was just you and the goalie when he took a shot. It hurt every single time. And when you hear Stuart Skinner talk about it, it's weird how some guys can make the puck feel like a shot put when it hits you compared to some guys where it does feel like popcorn. It's still moving, but that it's almost like the when you hear people describe a major league pitcher throwing like a fastball, like a 98 mile, you see it and it gets to a point and then it explodes again. Like it almost speeds up halfway to you. And that's, I think, what you can see with Bouchard. And I mean, there's a lot of guys that can do that. there's not a lot of guys that can put it where they want to when they want to.
Right.
And that's one of the keys to his success with that shot is not only is it just a missile, but he can also put it to where he wants. It's funny what a couple good games can do to a player's confidence and how they play. Like when I watch Bouchard, I mean, we've had him under the microscope for a long time,
Yes.
Tommy.
Correct.
But I find that even he's defending better with his feet now. You know, it's it seemed like sometimes in the defensive zone he looked like he was in quicksand.
Yeah.
He seems to be moving better. His plays at the blue line, like we're always marvel at some of these other players. We look at Makar. I look at Quinn Hughes in Vancouver, the way he dances across that blue line. How Evan Bouchard can get guys to bite on subtle little fakes in closed spaces at the blue line is just, it's masterful. He had one guy just corkscrewed tonight with just subtle little moves that he's able to do. His patience with the puck is all world. Are there defensive deficiencies still? Yes, there are, but I think they're coming along, and you can hear it in his voice. It's a very confident player, and it's amazing. I think the Oilers are the first team in the league with 6 guys with 20 points, and Bouchard's one of those players. So unbelievable job from him so far to get from where his game was in the doldrums from the beginning of the year to where they are now. That's a feather in his hat. I've always liked teams that go through adversity at some point throughout the season, Tommy, and just to have something to remind you how bad it got, right?
They had that.
Like they had that, a lot of it. Yeah. And it's still, they still talk about it, which I kind of like. You want to put it in the past, but it's always a reminder, you know, okay, we realize where we were not too long ago. We have to keep this thing going. So I think although it was painful, there was an importance to that time of the year.
Darcy Martini, he was an Oiler for 2 games in 93-94. So you would have played with him in Cape Breton a little bit. Defenseman, Paisan, obviously a monster of a human being, 6'5". And he put up some points in the IHL and the AHL. Just the 2 games as an Oiler, -1 back in 93-94. Not a good year for the Edmonton Oilers. And he wrapped up his career in Murano, Italy, 2001, 2002.
Darce, let's just say he almost ate himself out of the league at one point. Like he was a big, heavy man, and our training camp, like it was rookie camp in the summertime, and Darce came in and he had broke his back, so he didn't work out a bit. Right, he looked like a bag of milk, like 6'5" bag of milk at this point. And Slats at the time had purchased this brand new scale, like this. He was all happy of weighing guys with this new scale, and it had all the gadgets and stuff. So and Louis DeBrusque was at this camp. I remember Louis getting on the scale, and then we're all getting on this thing. Darce gets on this scale, and it's not working, and Slats is losing his marbles. He's going, what's going on? I paid like $1,000 for this scale. It doesn't work. And they're getting Darce on and off. They realize it doesn't go past 300 pounds. So Slats was all mad. And then thank God he didn't find out that it didn't go past. I think camp was finally over.
Wow.
It was only like a short week camp, or Darce would have been on the bike for the whole rest of the time.
He played at, it says he played at 225. Okay.
No. No. And I think there was about 30 pounds of back hair too on here. He was just a beast, just a beast.
Someone get him a Backscape, proud sponsor of Hello Hockey. Okay, let's hear a little bit from Chris Knobloch. We have a few more minutes and we'll get to some text to wrap things up as the Oilers win 4-3 over the Minnesota Wild.
A little bit similar to the Winnipeg game, just in the sense that you faced a guy that was stopping the puck and you guys found a way to overcome and ultimately win this one?
Yeah, we found a way. I think the first 40 minutes were pretty good, besides that 1 minute in the second period. I thought we had a lot of good scoring chances, defended well, and then kind of we're able to get the lead. We get a power play off of Keener's hard work and discipline, and then the power play, come through like they've done so many times before.
The sequence at the end of the game, they got multiple looks. Obviously, that's something in this situation easier to do a little bit of teaching moment when you ultimately got the victory and knowing that maybe you have to defend that a little bit better in the future.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about our 5-on-6 play a little bit tomorrow. Something that we have not discussed since I've been here, and whether I'm here for a long time or throughout the season, whatever, you always have to return and readdress things, and I think tomorrow is a good time to do it. We've had a lot of 5-on-6 play lately, so we've got a lot of video to look at and teaching clips, and we just want to sharpen that up, and especially with teams pulling their goalie so much earlier now that you might, obviously have to get ready for 1-2 lines, but now it's 3 and possibly 4.
Power play, I realize you weren't here in the when Tyson Barrie was running it, but there was a time when this power play scored from the edges and Draisaitl and McDavid came off the other edge. We keep hearing how it's being defended differently, and probably it needs more point shots to get pucks to the net. Are you seeing that, and does that make you appreciate having a guy like Bouchard at the top?
Every good power play, you need threats. Wherever those threats are, net front, on the flanks, at the point, it does help having him with his shot, being able to, because obviously teams pre-scout and every team's not different. They want to take away the dangerous areas, and when you have enough guys that are dangerous who make plays and can score goals, then you're vulnerable to something. And tonight we capitalized on Bush's shot, but the last week or maybe 2 weeks, we've seen a lot of goals generated from his shot.
What's the most valuable thing about his shot? The sheer velocity, or the fact that he's pretty good at placing it as well?
It has to get through. That's the ultimate place. I saw that shot was 97 miles an hour. That doesn't hurt. I don't know. It's definitely a skill that there's plenty of guys who can place a puck in a certain location. There's plenty of guys that have the velocity and can really hammer it like that. But, there's a few guys in the NHL that can do both.
That's Chris Knobloch there, a couple minutes from him. And the interesting thing that stood out to me, Joaquin, was him saying, we're going to be working on our 5-on-6 play. I don't know if I've ever heard a coach talk about that like that. Interesting. What do you make? I've never
had a coach that, I don't think we ever did that. Maybe but he's talking about, I think, what is it? The defensive play on it, I think, right? So he's not talking, I don't think he's talking about the offensive side of things. He's thinking more along the lines of how we're going to defend those 6-on-5 situations. So well, on teams we've worked on the extra guy and running plays when we're behind, but we not the other way around. Very interesting. It's funny. I was talking about this on two guys that, and maybe I didn't pay enough attention to Woodcroft, and when I thought about it, Coach Woodcroft was always a little cryptic with what he was going to do. There was always a lot of cloak and dagger.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, with Coach Naba, he seems to be an open book, right? With a lot of things, he just tells you, which is different. I find it a little bit refreshing. Interesting way to think about things. And he's done these little things throughout in the last few games that are just piqued my interest with his coaching style, taking advantage of certain situations. I just remember the Morrissey when he was called off for concussion protocol against the Jets. He immediately went to Leon and Connor the next shift. Like just the recognition of those types of things. And I'm sure Woodcroft did the same, but maybe we're just watching him a little bit more.
Always something to keep an eye on. And when you're the coach of the Edmonton Oilers, there's going to be a spotlight on you no matter what. So it's, look, 5-on-6, that's a new one. Just, they caught my attention, and we'll see how that works out. Last real question via the inbox for you here, Gager, and then I'm going to get a comment or two from the nasty chat that I saw. This one comes in from Jeffy. Jeffy asks, is this one of those games at the end of a win streak that you win, but probably shouldn't as bad habits creep in, and then you go on to lose a couple? That one from Jeffy. What do you say, Gager?
I just wonder what he's alluding to with the bad habits. Is it this? I mean, I guess you could look at the start of the second as not playing the same way that we were accustomed to seeing in the previous games, right? Taking a little bit more watching, a little bit hesitant in the defensive zone, not a lot of recognition. Look, it's difficult to play a full 60 minutes throughout every line. To do that, I think. And even if you look at last game, you look at the Kane and Draisaitl line, not a lot there. This game, completely different. I think their game is better suited towards the Wild, little bit heavier team, a little bit rougher. But look, you're going to have, if you're looking for a full 60 minutes every single night, it's just not going to happen, because you're going to get teams to raise the level of their game and play at a higher level where they're going to put you back on your heels, so to speak, right?
Yep.
It's how you weather those situations. And we heard tonight with Nugent Hopkins how at the end they felt, you heard it from him, they felt confident in that situation with that 1-goal lead. They kind of, about 9 minutes of weathering the storm there, but they liked where their game was at. So yeah, you don't like them to be sitting back. I don't want to say sitting back too much. It's more weathering what the Wild were throwing at them.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt, like I said at the beginning, this is the type of game that I really wanted to see from the Oilers, a game where they had the lead early, it slipped away. How are they going to respond to this after a dominating performance too? That shows a little bit more maturity, a little bit more poise, a little bit more structure and belief in yourself and your game, that you're still with it and can come back and win.
6 in a row, and they've won these games in different fashion, Gager, which is also interesting. So that goes to your point as well. We'll see. I mean, they get New Jersey in the second half of a game. They play tomorrow afternoon against Calgary, and then they play Sunday afternoon against Edmonton. That's weird. 2 matinee games for the Devils on a weekend in Canada. Like, that doesn't really happen very often. So what are you looking for on Sunday against New Jersey?
Hughes against Connor, of course.
Hello.
I mean, this is like the so-called heir apparent to one of the best players in the league, and he's exciting, man. This is I think about last year in the at the All-Star game, or was it last year? It might have been the year before, but Hughes in awe of Connor as he skated by after Connor hit like 4 targets in a row. There's always something for young, cocky players like that going up against the best. You know, he's going to want to have a great performance.
Yep.
Connor's going to want to put the puppy back in his kennel and show him who the big dog is. This is going to be a fast game. Like tonight's game, big, robust, you know, there was some nastiness to it. But now we're going to see some speedsters. This is going to be a fast game. Don't blink, because you're going to miss something probably.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Sunday's afternoon game, 2:00 start. We're on the air at 12:30 for the pregame show. Also, Carmen, and I saw some other people mentioning that Mike Greer was at the game. I saw him in the press box, and I'm like, hey, Mike Greer, wait a sec. Why is Mike Greer here? And he was just sitting by himself, Gager.
Really?
And nobody was bothering him. He just sat by himself where the scouts normally sit. And like, he was wearing it. He wasn't suited up. He was just in street clothes. He had some nice, fresh white kicks on. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was Mike Greer. What the hell is he doing here? When are they here? So that was kind of neat. You played with him. Anything about Mike Greer that you could impart on our audience? I know people are speculating there's a trade. I haven't heard anything, but who knows?
No, it's I mean, it could be him talking to Bill Guerin too, right? Like those two are old buddies. They sat beside each other in the room. Gosh, I don't think we have time to go into what type of player Mike Greer was and what kind of teammate he was. Just one of the most hardest working individuals ever. Tough as nails. Like, he should have basically shut himself down and got shoulder surgery.
Oh,
he was in a shoulder brace. His shoulder popped out like Mel Gibson in the Lethal Weapon movies, and he'd be putting it back in on the bench and going out and then rocking a guy with a hit.
Yeah.
And just a funny pleasure to be around. There's a reason why he's a GM in the league. He's very smart. His whole family's involved in the on the management side of sports, and it was a natural progression for him to go. There's always those certain players that just like Bill Guerin. You could look at Doug Weight too. That they were so smart with not only hockey but with just smart individuals. But
yeah.
You knew that he was going to eventually be in one of those positions, and yeah, good for him. I feel bad now that I should have came to the game time, because I would have loved to see him.
Yeah, he would have. I mean, he was, like I said, just sitting there by himself in the press box, and I'm like, I'm like 100% sure that's Mike Greer, and it was. So interesting. Mike Greer, by the way, for the youngsters out there like YouTube, Trev, tough, went to the hard areas, like Gager said, scored like the toughest goals too. And I'm glad you brought up the popping the shoulder out thing, because I remember they would talk about him like putting it back in on his own, and I'm like, this guy is crazy.
It's crazy. And
he just threw monster hits too. So he was a really good Oiler for a long time, and he was there tonight. So yeah, that was definitely him. All right, that's going to do it for the Oil Stream post-game show. Naughty Possum says, good show, boys. Norman to Combine says, great show tonight. Tom and Gager, have a terrific night and weekend from Norman to Combine. You as well. Gager, fantastic work. Thank you so much again for filling in for Cass, as always. It's a pleasure to have you on pre-post. Hello Hockey, any one of our shows. It's great to work with you. And YouTube, Trev, fantastic stuff as well. With that being said, have yourselves a great night. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Hello Hockey at 10 a.m. Cheers.